We may be in full spring with lots of variations in our temperatures. However, the daylight hours mean we can get a lot more seeds sown in the greenhouse. Even though our outside temperatures are varying quite drastically at the moment, some of our things will be doing quite happily outside. However, inside our greenhouses, our unheated greenhouses, it is definitely time where we can start sowing some more of those maybe more tender plants. And actually, when it comes to our tomatoes, quite often we will say that gardening therapy is basically therapy with free tomatoes. So I have some really nice varieties this year, and over the time that I've been growing, I've sort of narrowed it down and down and down in terms of the absolute flavour and variations that you can get, which basically top trumps anything that you can buy in the supermarket. And this year I'm going for a nice little variety, and I have some of my determinates and some of my indeterminate tomato varieties. Now, our indeterminates are basically those which will just keep on growing taller and taller and taller, whereas our determinates are our bush varieties, and they're a lot smaller. Now, I actually have my beautiful She Grows Veg Crazy Cherry tomatoes, which are so packed with full of flavour, and also they are prolific growers, so I'm not surprised they're called Crazy Cherry, and they are actually like a bush variety. I'm going to do something quite interesting when I come to planting those out this year. I also have my Roma, which are like the plum tomatoes, and they are our indeterminates. I have the amateur, which again are bush variety, and then I have the Green Doctor, and again these are full of flavour. Don't be fooled because they are green, they are beautiful. And again, these are an indeterminate, so they will actually grow quite tall as well. So when it comes to actually sowing our tomatoes, it doesn't matter what kind you have, whether they're determinates or indeterminates, we sow them in exactly the same way. So I'm actually using these cells, which are quite big, and I'm going to try to control myself in terms of how many seeds I sow. Whereas it comes to actually our specialist tomatoes, we are automatically limited because there's not as many tomato seeds in these packets because they are specialists, but my word, do they reward you. So very simply, in our little seed cells, I'm just going to put some of this beautiful peat-free compost into the cells. Once they're nicely filled up, I'm just going to press down the soil so that it's actually going to form a really nice base for the seeds to grab onto as they start to grow. So gloves off, because I'm going to get the seeds out of their packet. So being careful, as we always are when we're opening our seed packets, making sure that we just tap them down to make sure there's no seeds right at the top, and then open them up. So they are what you expect them to look like. We've all had tomatoes. You look inside a tomato, and those are the seeds that you actually get. So with these seeds, I'm just going to put maybe one in each of these cells, depending on how many might actually be in the packet. It says 10 in this packet. You never know, sometimes you get a little bit extra. I've just put more than one seed in that one. Just move that over. And then once I've actually got those into my cells, I'm just going to cover it over with a thin layer of compost. I'm just going to push them down with my finger a little bit first, just to make sure that they are secure. Making sure as well that they don't get attached to my fingers, because I don't want to lose them. And then just top those off with a nice little sprinkling. And again, just give those a little bit of a pat down. Now, this compost is actually a little bit moist, and that's really good because I don't want it to be overly wet, because that could rot my seeds. And it means that for the initial sowing, I don't really need to water them in, because actually there's enough moisture in this compost. As soon as they start to appear, or maybe once or twice a week at this time of year, I will give them a watering. So once that's done, just very simply propagate a lid on, obviously labelling them up because I'm a bit of a monkey when it comes to labelling, and that's all we're going to do. Now, obviously in an unheated greenhouse, it may be a bit cold because our temperatures are going up and down. There may be a little bit of heat retention overnight, but I'm not going to trust those. So these are actually going to come home with me, and it's going to take, maybe if we're thinking we are near the beginning, sort of mid-March, these are going to be ready really to be potted on, potentially to go out in mid-May. And it's that good old saying, never cast a clout till May is out. We need to make sure that we're not going to get the frost to these babies, otherwise it will kill them off. So exciting times. In about 16 weeks time, I may be getting flowers. I may even be getting some tomatoes. When it comes to my crazy cherry, what I am going to do is something with this when it comes to planting out. Stay tuned for that one.